Okay, girl. It's okay. Greetings and salutations, my artsy friends. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am ready to get my art on. How about you? Hello, Sharon. Hello, Sue. How are you both this morning? So good, I hope. Ready to learn all about Ms. Ringgold? She's just about the most amazing person, and her style of painting is one that the basic premise of her paintings is something that we can all embrace. I am so good. I am so good. Hi, Carm. Good morning. How is everyone today? How are you this morning, Miss Carmen? I will just tell you, Jeff is out of town. You know, he used to travel all the time for his job, and I was here by myself a lot. But, you know, since the pandemic, we've been together quite a bit. So he is visiting his mom in California, and so it's just me and these crazy dogs. And I'll just tell you, we stay up way too late, and I know I do that to make myself just pass out from tiredness. But Solomon wakes me up every morning by licking my hand very early. Yesterday was 4:15. This morning it was about 5:15. So my sleep's all kind of mixed up, but you know, it's okay. These guys sleep all day long, like passed out sleep, like not just a nap. They're like out. I can vacuum around them. They don't care. They don't care, crazy dogs. Well, I'm glad you have the whole day off, Miss Carmen. I'm glad. Hey, Donna. Oh my gosh. That card yesterday was just unbelievable. Thank you so much. Hey, Laura. Hey, Sharon, I was going to tell you something. So if you don't open, I need to say this again in the big group. If you don't open my emails, the distribution company that I work through, if you don't open so many emails, it will knock you off the list, and then I can't put you back on. You have to do it yourself. Subscribe yourself, and there's a link right here on my Ann Corbiere-Scott Designs page. But if you were not wanting to get emails, that's fine too. Just wanted to let you know that I think that you were dropped. Good morning, Catherine. Well, it's not in morning where you are, but hey. Hi, Debbie Nally Farrell. How are you? Welcome. So, let's see. It's 9:03, so I think we should start. So if you are brand new here, please like and subscribe to Ann Corbiere-Scott Designs on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And then please ask to join Full Day at the Coast. Stop. Wish I were with you. Please ask to join our private Facebook group, Let's Get Artsy with Ann Corbiere-Scott. That's where the coolest of the cool hang out. And they are the most kind, generous. Now you have to, well, you can't open them now, Sharon, because now you've been taken off the list. So you need to resubscribe. I think I put you in there because we had talked about it before, but right here on my page, there's a link to resubscribe. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Ask to join Let's Get Artsy with Anne Corbiere-Scott, our private Facebook group where everyone is super kind and generous and encouraging and creative. What could be better? Not much, I don't think. So let's get started talking about Ms. Ringgold. So, oops. I'm going to put a picture up here of her. I put a picture of her on my social media this morning so that you can know who we're talking about, and also to just get to know her beauty. Look at her. She's just so regal. Seriously, I adore her. I also put a picture of her in the newsletter yesterday. So Faith Ringgold was born in 1930 in Harlem, and she kind of grew up during that Harlem Renaissance, which was, can you even imagine the amazingness of this? Duke Ellington was her neighbor, Langston Hughes was her neighbor. I mean, seriously, I'm sure it was something else. She looks like an amazing woman, doesn't she, Donna? Anyway, so she is an American painter, obviously. American painter, writer, mixed media sculptor, and performance artist, activist, and she's best known for her narrative quilts, which, just touches the cockles of my heart. She had chronic asthma growing up, and so she wasn't able to go to school. And so hey, Nance! She wasn't able to go to school, and so she was homeschooled for a great amount of her school years. And so her mother was her teacher. Her mother, being a fashion designer, also taught her all about fabrics and creativity with fabric and learning to sew. And so that's kind of where I think that the seed was planted for all of those things. Her artwork was greatly influenced by the people, poetry, and music that she grew up with, but it was also influenced by racism, sexism, and segregation. In 1950, she enrolled at City College of New York City and wanted to major in art, but City College only allowed women to enroll in certain majors, so she earned her degree in art education. Can you even imagine? I mean, it's hard for us to remember, to know that kind of stuff happened back then, but it certainly did. But you'll notice that she has this prevailing way about her that, nevertheless, she persisted. I will just tell you, was written about her. After graduating with her master's, she traveled to Paris, Florence, and Rome because she wanted to see the art. I can totally relate to that. While visiting the Louvre, she was inspired by the paintings and all of the artworks there, and that's where the kernel was planted for her quilt paintings called the French Collection. And if you look at the French Collection, you will see that that's such an influence. You can see it there. She was deeply influenced by mask making, doll making, and sculpture. Sorry, having some allergies this morning. I got a fabulous education in art, wonderful teachers who taught me everything except anything about African art or African American art. But I traveled and took care of that part myself. Are you starting to see a theme throughout her life? She's just, seriously, she is so cool. So she was very taken by the Cuba fabrics and textiles of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So be sure to look those up. Cuba, Cuba. And that's where she took the traditional craft of quilt making and reinterpreted it into Faith Ringgold style. So she started this this theme of story quilts, and now she's famous for them. So you'll see, and now I don't know what the name of this one is, but you'll see in the center is a scene, right? Around the edge are quilt blocks, are blocks of different fabrics, but there's also these strips that tell the story. How cool is that? So if you look super, super close, you'll see this one is handwritten. I think she mostly handwrites hers, but seriously, this is all, look at that. It's all handwritten all the way across, right? And then there you can see the blocks. And then there's more storytelling down on the bottom. So cool. So cool. So quilt making was in the family, as it is in my family, as it may be in your family. I mean, that's such a art form that has been passed down from generation to generation. In her family, her grandmother learned from her mother, Susie Shannon, who'd been a slave. So think about that. That's pretty crazy too, right? So so you can see that the quilt making certainly ran deep in that family, and also that can you imagine that the stories that were told and the skills that were honed over the years, seriously, I'm just in awe of her. So she also, because she taught in the New York school system, I should say, for a little over 20 years, and then went on to become a full-time artist. But I think because she had an unusual upbringing, and she also values education, obviously, she wrote a series of children's books, and I have 2 of them from my child's library. Tar Beach is one of the most famous, and Tar Beach is a story about these children that go up on the roof in New York City and pretend and then lay out a quilt. Obviously, it's a quilt, and they pretend that they're at the beach while the parents have play cards, and everyone enjoys this yummy food, and they just have an enjoyable evening. And she often liked to look to the sky, and she pretended that she was flying. And one of her most famous quotes is, "Anyone can fly. As long as you have a great big imagination, anyone can fly," which I thought was just about the coolest. So anyway, you can get a bit of her, you can see a bit of her style of painting, but you can also make special note of the quilt squares that are along the bottom. Oops, can you see that? There we go. Aren't they beautiful? Just square after square after square of lovely fabrics. And if you are a visual person, as I'm sure you all are, you will know that fabrics are almost as addictive as paper. I think they're probably equal. Another Faith Ringgold children's book is The Invisible Princess, and I love this for the art. Look at her. Look at her. I'm just telling you. And I like that she worked in acrylics a lot, and so you can really see the texture of the paint on the paint on the canvas. She painted oftentimes on canvas, but it was thin enough that she could quilt that she could sew those pieces together with the quilted square borders. Oh my gosh, the artwork is so beautiful. I just love it. I just love it. And so I'm going to set these aside and we'll talk about. So be sure to look up Faith Ringgold on Pinterest or whatever you can just Google her. But I'm going to show you. This is the Faith Ringgold story quilt that I created last year. So I did a quilt, and so start thinking about what you want to paint, what kind of a story quilt you want to create. You know what? And I struggled. I was like, what story am I going to tell? What story am I going to tell? Like, I had done this one last year and I loved it. So what I did was I made a story quilt about every artist that we studied last year. From the beginning of the pandemic from April until May, we did 31, I think it was 31 or 32 artists. So I made squares for them all the way around. And I knew I wanted paintbrushes because paintbrushes are kind of pretty iconically me. They're a part of me, but it's also my logo. And so, and I wanted to put the main points that I wanted to convey on my story quilt were the name of this class, Let's Get Artsy Together Apart, the name of the artist that we were studying, Faith Ringgold. The date that I did this painting was November 28th, 2020. And it was the Artist Study Series. So those were the big things, and the names of all of the artists that we studied. And that was super fun and quite therapeutic. And I will just say, just know that it's okay if you do not finish your entire piece in one sitting. Most artists do not sit down and start to finish a whole piece. They work in stages and bits and pieces. And so I hope that everyone remembers that and is kind with themselves. And believe me, there are pages in this book that from last year's artist studies that I have not finished. But I go back and little by little, I continue to grow them. I will just think about Mary Blair or Grandma Moses or Alma Thomas or whoever, and I will go back and work on that page a little bit more. And that's cool because then you're visiting that person again, you know? So, oops, I'm going to sneeze. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I decided what story I wanted to tell on this piece. And that is the story of, so remember that your story can be whatever you want it to be. Thank you, Aunt Mer. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Donna. I know, honest to Pete, crazy. Your story can be whatever you want it to be. Aunt Mer is an amazingly beautiful Well, she's amazingly beautiful, but she also does some of the coolest quilts I know. So I'm sure that will be in part of her process. So what I think that I want to do, what the story I want to tell is the story of 2021 during the pandemic for me. So what the story I want to tell is that I became an amateur gardener in 2021. I planted seeds and we have this little hothouse in the backyard, and I kind of planted them in those little peat moss cups, and until they became seedlings, and then I transferred them to pots, and it took a long time. I will just tell you, that is a lesson in patience. Going from a seed to a flowering plant is a very long process, but it was so good because it gives you something else to focus on. And I did a lot of Google research on the best ways to grow the different flowers that I had. And so that's the story I want to tell. Think about the story that you want to tell, and then it will just start to percolate and grow within you. So what I did was I just took a ruler and I just did the width of the ruler and drew my frame, right? And so then I already have my framework, and ironically I have some corner pieces already. So now I need to think about how I want to do my sides. Here I just did squares and wrote their names. Here I think I want to fill this area with big flowers that I grew. Like big drawings of flowers that I drew. That will be my painting, kind of a garden. And then I need to think about what I want to do along the edge and how I'm going to tell my story of how I bought the seeds, and I had some seeds that I had gotten on trips, different places. It's always been intriguing to me. I've just haven't, only sunflowers were the only things that, or plants from Lowe's or whatever. So but this year I really was dedicated to growing them. And so think about what you want to do your painting of. What story you want to tell. And I don't know how I want to incorporate my story. I haven't figured that part out yet. Anybody? Anybody want to share any ideas of what they're thinking they want to do? Oh my gosh, I let the dogs in this morning, and 3 flies came in, and I'm telling you, they've just been so bothersome ever since. That is for sure. So I think I'm going to just start with my flowers. That's not what I want. I like to do things in pencil first, because then I can start and stop. I can change my composition as I choose. Honestly. Okay. So I think I'm going to start working on my center, my filler. Oh, and I can also tell you a couple of, as I'm drawing, I can tell you a couple of Faith Ringgold. Ooh, Keels, I think that's great. I can also tell you some quotes from Ms. Ringgold. You can't sit around and wait for somebody to say who you are. You need to write it and paint it and do it. That's pretty good, isn't it? Creativity helps us realize that we don't have to understand everything. Isn't that profound? I don't know. Sometimes I think we feel like at a certain age we have to understand everything. And you know what? Sometimes we don't. Sometimes it just is what it is, you know? I decided when someone says you can't do something, do more of it. Well, that's a girl after my own heart. That's for sure. The quotes are amazing. Oh, I think that'll be lovely, Kath. I think that would be lovely. I think that will be lovely. I think the quotes can be quite inspirational too. I do. So you can look them up yourself. You can try and read my chicken scratch if anyone wants to copy any of those down, but I don't know if you can read what I wrote. Has everybody got that? So now I'm going to think about all the flowers that I grew this year and start to fill in this big space. I think I want to do them big because, well, number one, it's mine and I can draw whatever I want, right? But also, I was just thinking, I'm really feeling like I might want to do part of my story in the petals of the flowers. You guys have gone on lots of trips this year, haven't you, Kat? Ooh, it would be cool to do all the books you've read, Keels, around the edge. Zinnias were the ones that I was the most you go to the sea a lot, don't you? Yeah, I was thinking so too, Aunt Mer, that writing it in the petals somehow, I don't know. I like to just start and then just ponder, you know, as I go along. You'll notice that I want my petals to be kind of loose. Here, I was so tight. I'm not really loving that. So I'm holding my pencil kind of up high, and then I just kind of twist it as I go around. So then I get some nice organic shapes. So I told you Jeff's gone, and you know, he's not a big casserole person. So I told myself I was going to make 2 things that he would never make for dinner, which is a step up because, you know, I have been known to just eat a bowl of cereal or a yogurt for dinner while he's gone. But I did, I think I'm just going to do all zinnias now that I'm thinking about it. So I made myself goulash for dinner last night, and I figured out a way to make it, like not a huge amount, because you know, casseroles. I was used to making those for the family, my family growing up. So I made goulash, and today I'm going to make tuna noodle casserole. Those are my big treats. I know it sounds crazy, but they are. So I'm just getting my placement and my composition down first. It was so good, Keels, and you know what? I made it kind of southwestern goulash. I made it with rotel, which, shut up, I love me some rotel. And ground turkey, you know, because that's what we eat mostly around here is turkey with a side of chicken every now and again. Well, I shouldn't say that. Every now and again we have some kind of beef, but for the most part, we eat turkey and chicken. So I also want to do inside of the zinnias. I love this part. These little tiny flowers in the centers. I think that's what sets zinnias apart, you know? Draw them not just on the perimeter, but a couple in the centers, maybe 2. I drew some really great zinnias in the Aunt Myrrh art printable. If you are so interested. I do too, Keels. I do too. There's just something about rotel. I just love it. I remember one time when we were in Texas at one of those big flea markets, Canton, I think. Keely, was that the trip that you did not make? So it's just diced tomatoes with I think mine have a little bit of green chilies. I don't know. I can't think of what the ingredients are, but I saved the label for a future art project. So I'll take a picture of it and send it to you, Keels. So so back to my Canton story. When we were in Canton, I got separated from the group, but you know, that's okay. We weren't, you know, we all like to look at different things. And so we do some of that. That's some of our best shopping time is when we're apart and then we get back together and we look at what everybody got and, you know, whatever. Anyway, I had this, it was a Texas chili of sorts, but it was chicken based. And it was, it had rotel and white beans and, oh my gosh, it was so delicious. And I tried to write down like every single ingredient that I could remember. And I made it when I came home repeatedly. It was so good. Now I haven't made it in a while. And so maybe, just maybe, I need to make that. It was so good. Although it's so hot here, it's hard to think about soup. So I'm going to pull some of my, have some of my zinnias come from the side. So that it has that feeling of just continuation, that it just goes on and on and on, right? And we'll have some that are tucked behind things. Oh, interesting, Laura. So you did, yeah, I wanted it to be, I wanted to try and stay as positive as possible, but we did all live through it, didn't we? Thankfully. I mean, who knew that in our lifetime we would face a pandemic? That's kind of crazy, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to do a couple more. Sophia's snoring. Can anyone hear her? And she's laying right at my feet. Oh, Kath, you're so funny. I think your trips, that would be, because, please, the inspiration must have been, there must have been a plethora of information, of things that you could draw, the seaside, seashells, whatever it is that you experienced together. Yeah, I know somebody like that too, Kath. It's all about food. Jeff's out there right now. But you guys probably already knew that. Those girls talk a lot. Oh, you know it, Kath. You know it, sister. I still haven't figured out what I want to do around the edges. Oh, Aunt Mer, you know what I was thinking? What if I wrote my story like in between the flowers? That might be cool, because then the flowers are still going to be, will still pop. They'll still be center stage. See how if you just ponder, it all just starts to fall into place. How's everybody doing on their composition? Have you pondered it enough to kind of know where you want to go with yours? You know what's so crazy is that a great deal of the artists that we studied last year, somehow I had a blank page, and so it's cool to know like the date of this one versus the date of this one. And so, but to see, like, you know, if you only study something one day, one time, it doesn't completely sink into your noggin, you know? It doesn't become a deep part of you. So you want to, my friend Lindsay always tells me to do things 10 times. if you do something 10 times, then it becomes innately part of you. That information that you took in just becomes innately part of you. And so I really like the fact that we're revisiting these artists this year, because you'll see them in a different light, right? You'll see them with you'll go deeper this time. And because you've already done this, had this exercise of getting to know this artist, right? Then this time you can just really dig a little deeper, think a little more ponder. Give yourself a little time to ponder. And remember, this does not, we are only oh my gosh, I'm so excited that I got to meet Miss Laney. So I'm sure you are absolutely planning for later. I know, I really like the quilt look too. I'm kind of digging that. And I want to do the quilted border. I just don't know exactly what I want to do. So I don't want to start that, because you know, when you don't know exactly what you want, you know. So I'm going to start inking my pencil drawing, and I can't recommend this enough. This Micron PN, it's the plastic nib. So it's waterproof, right? So it's not going to move when I put watercolor on top of it. But it has a plastic nib, so you cannot break it. Because regular microns, what's this one's 0.05. There, can you see the nib? It can get bent really easily. You have to really be conscious of a light touch. And I'm not saying that you should jam this one into your paper and scribble super hard, but it's just stronger, the PN. And it's a nice size. So that's kind of this is one's my new, I mean, not that I don't use all of them. I do. So I'm just going to start my outline. So I just start with like a loose interpretation, and then I like to go around twice, you know, for the sketchy look. But I also remember that your pencil line is just a guide. It doesn't have to be you don't have to trace it exactly the way that you drew it originally. Can I tell you, let me brag about my little cousin, Miss Laney, who is not, is she 2, Aunt Mar? She not only can count, but she can recognize her numbers and recognize her letters. She's not quite 2, is she? I don't think I've seen her birthday. Oh my gosh, and she just, you know, I'm sure she was like, why is that lady staring at me when I met her? But she looks so much like her daddy when he was a baby. And he was, oh my gosh, he was the prettiest baby. He was such a pretty baby. Great big round blue eyes and white blonde hair. He was just, oh my gosh. And Lainey looks just like him. It's kind of like a time travel thing. There we go. Kind of digging that. Anyway, Miss Laney is smart as a whip and just as darling as can be. And Wally is super, he's a super good dad. And I'll tell you, he was the most beautiful baby because he looked just like my aunt. I mean, he has blue eyes and she has brown eyes. But the shape of his eyes, when he smiled, he looked just like my aunt. Who, you know, I kind of have a special spot for her. Well, if you knew her, you would completely understand why. I got lucky in the aunt department. That's for sure. My Aunt Mer, my Aunt Dee, and that's just on my Aunt Pauline. Well, you've all read about them in my art printables. And you know what? And I'm not done. I have so many more aunts to go. Aunt Kathleen. I'm feeling like I want to do some kind of like print fabrics around the edge that will kind of enhance my zinnias. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that. We do have a crazy big family. Because I have the whole great big bunch of the Kings and then even more Corbières. There's a lot of us. But I love it. I love it. I'm going to turn my book so that drawing is easier. Remember, turn your book, turn your paper so that your hand isn't all cramped up from drawing upside down. This should be as enjoyable as possible. There's this fabric designer. Now I don't remember her last name. Keely, do you remember? Her name is Tula. I have this little iPad. Maybe I can look her up. Her fabrics are, oh my gosh. Tula. What's her last name? Tula. Anyway, her fabrics are so beautiful. So they're this crazy mix of very traditional, almost like Victorian artwork, but in like hot pink and turquoise and bright orange and yellows and lime green. Oh my gosh. They're the coolest. I don't know. That's just in my brain. I was just thinking about her fabrics. I saw a class that is way too far away and I won't be able to take it. But Tula Pink, there you go. Yes. Yes, I knew it had something to do with pink and I couldn't remember. Yes, Catherine, isn't her fabric about the most beautiful? I'm telling you, it's so pretty. So look her up, just for the inspiration, if nothing else. I'm looking for a skinny pen. There we go. To do these little flowers. Tulip Pink, her fabrics are so unbelievable. Anyway, I don't know why she's kind of in my brain. And I don't even know that she's done like zinnias or anything like that. But her colors, oh my gosh, her colors are so beautiful. So I guess maybe I'm kind of thinking of those colors for my painting, for my story quilt. Be sure to look her up. You'll be so happy you did. Inspiration is just everywhere. You know, I watched the, this will tell you something about me. So our cable box died, of course, on the day that Jeff was leaving. So he went to the cable place and got a new box and hooked it up, but none of the like I didn't have the passwords to, you know, Amazon and Netflix and that kind of thing. So I was like, I'll just watch regular TV. But with this new remote, I can't turn my TV off. I don't know why. So it has been on constantly since he left because I can't turn it off. So I just have you know how the cable has the music? I just have that on right now. Seriously, is that about the dumbest thing to admit out loud? Anyway, last night I watched the Netflix series about Halston. And it was, well, last night and the night before. It was just, it was debauchery and sad, and I did lose all of my recordings. And do you think I could even remember? No, whatever. And it all happened so quick that I didn't even think to try and watch things super quick or write it down at least. I don't, whatever. But it was just TV, you know. Anyway, Halston was such a tragic figure, you know. Oh, Kath, how in the world did you get your TV remote in your bag? Well, then that sounds like something I would do. So I'm not going to, no judgment there. No judgment. Anyway, I mean, he was a tragic figure in many ways, and like his upbringing was tragic, and his sense of self was so fragile, but he had the mind of an artist. And I will just tell you, I sobbed at the end because if you know the story of him, you know that he spent the last year and a half of his life traveling up and down the Pacific coast. And as he's looking at the ocean, he said, this was the part that just spoke to me. Now I see this lovely blue. But back in the day, I would have been, I'm paraphrasing, I would have wanted to create a whole line around that color, like a whole clothing line around that color, in all the shades and all of the, like, when an artist sees color, think about when you see a color, you just think of all of the possibilities of that color, you know? Turn, 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 turn. That just spoke to me. I mean, this was this one little crazy line from the movie. But it's true, isn't it? Don't you see something? That's why, Kath, I was thinking about your trip. I'm sure you saw so many. I mean, the seaside in England is so different than the seaside in America. I mean, there are certainly similarities. That's kind of what I love the most about traveling, is looking for the similarities, what's the same and what's different. And what's different is so intriguing to me, because why is it different, and why is it, you know? I was thinking, I'm sure that a big part of the thought process about food, Kath, is because of the age that they grew up in. Everything is so prevalent now, you know? People can have access to so much more. Having parents of the Depression era is a very different, sorry, trying to find an eraser. I know I have one over here. Whatever. Having parents that grew up in the Depression era, or around there, or during the war, they have a very different way of looking at it all, you know? And I think some of that stuff they can never let go of. Now I'm really thinking about Tulip Pink's colors. I'm really, really thinking about it. Not fluorescent. They're not fluorescent at all. They're just super bright. I know, Kath, but I try to tell myself, what else do they have? You know, what else do they have? I'm feeling like maybe if I just start drawing these main ones, something will come to me. Like part of me there we go. Part of me is thinking about doing some little stripes of color, or little, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Because this is so big and bold. I feel like my binding should be, oh my gosh, I have eraser stuff everywhere. Like my, outside should be maybe in similar colors, maybe. Like, you know how some quilts have the like stripe, 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 stripe? That might be cool. And stripe, 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 stripe here. And then, I don't know. And then the corners could be, I don't know. How's everyone doing? Look, I'm feeling like I really want to do that bright turquoise and bright pink and orange and bright yellow, lime green. Those are, I lost that stinking eraser again. There we go. Because you know how it is when you erase, there's always a line that you forgot. That you thought you had erased, but you did not. Look at that for a poem. I don't know. So, how's everyone doing? Is everyone creating their story quilt? Are you still thinking of your concept? Are you sketching it out, kind of getting an idea? Oh, little tiny flower. Shut up, Donna. A zinnia, a zinnia, a zinnia, a zinnia. I think that would be fabulous. Because it is really all about my zinnias. You know. That's a great idea. That is a great idea. Well, I hope that everyone has been duly inspired and is pondering the story they want to tell. And you're thinking about how you want to tell your story. And remember, you do not have to finish it all in one day. You do not have to finish it all at all. You can just start creating. Just start creating and be pondering. That's part of the exercise too, is the pondering part. Is the what story do I want to tell and how do I want to tell it and how can I convey that color and how can I, how can I incorporate my story? How can I and draw your inspiration from all kinds of things. I don't know why Tula Pink popped in my brain, but she did. And so, so now that's part of my story too, is Tula Pink. So seriously, promise me that you'll just go Google her because her stuff is just so fantastic. Just to see it. Just to see it. It's amazing. I am leaving on Wednesday for my parents' house in Michigan. And so I will be doing so Tuesday's pop-in paint party will be here. But Thursdays will be from beautiful Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And then the following week, Tuesday is when I fly home. So we will have pop-in paint parties on Wednesday and Thursday of that week instead. But it'll be with brand new artwork. So I adore you all. I can hardly wait to see your interpretations. That's the coolest part, isn't it? And that everybody learns something from everybody else. And seriously, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So, with further ado, I will bid you adieu. And I will see you on Tuesday for sure. Go out and make some art today. Get creative. Get in your peaceful zone. And play with some, play with some colors. I know pondering is one of the best ways to pass the time, Miss Donna, I have found. Because pondering, I come up with some of my best ideas pondering. I adore you all. Thanks so much. Bye.